Okay, continue with the story.
So I go to college, right? And in college, my last year, that's when I started. I had a boyfriend. And actually, I had my daughter 3 days before I was supposed to 3 days after I graduated. She was supposed to come on graduation day, and I was not married at that point.
And we're talking from college. So the college, which college?
I was in University of Maryland.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So that was.
Can I ask how old you are?
I was 24.
Okay.
24, not that bad. Making myself feel better, not too bad. Yeah. I was around 24.
Dad must have caught your dad unaware.
Oh, that it's actually so funny because I thought the first person I had to tell was my dad, because what I did not want him to do is blame my mom, because I think there's this thing about maybe you could have done better, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I told my dad, that kind of separated us a little bit, because it's like, wow, what do you, again, college, you're still in college. What do you mean that you got pregnant? So he did not believe it until my daughter came. And
he's like, nope, you're just full.
Yeah.
You're just full. That stomach's just full.
Yeah. He actually took him. He didn't believe it until she was born, and she was born. Actually, me and my dad were going to college at the same time. He was at Johns Hopkins. I don't know what he was taking, because he was graduating from school. Because actually, he graduated the day my daughter was born. Yeah. So that actually began. Wow, she was probably my what do you call it? Wow, my drive. Right, because I wanted to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah.
Right, I was like, I would, because they're like, okay, that's it, your life is over now that you have a kid. What are you gonna do with yourself? So that's when my hustling began. I
get it.
Right.
And how? What did your mom say?
I mean, my mom was actually okay. She was probably disappointed, but she was okay. My mom was never like, oh, what did you do? She was fine. My mom never gave me that energy of like, oh my God.
I get it.
And I guess from my dad's perspective, it's just like, wow, really,
This is what I was trying to protect.
This is what I was trying to protect. And when did you have time to do all of that? That was probably his question. I was like, what are you doing?
And you were not together with the father.
I was, So we were dating, but then we were not like married officially.
You're married officially now?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm just sorry.
I told you that's why I can't be a life coach, right? Remember we talked about that? I've been through it all.
How did you feel about? I love that you said that's where your drive came from, because you saw your daughter. I mean, you had your daughter, and you're like, you know what? We're about to make it. We're about like you. But I want to know from a mental perspective where that you are with that.
Hey, that was tough, right? That was tough because. It's hard in the US. You don't have to. You can't afford somebody to come take care of your kids. So you had to reconcile with your parents, regardless. Otherwise, you're gonna have the roughest time, right? Because again, that's why you could almost stop everything you're doing in life, right? Because first of all, costs way too much money to put your child in daycare. And then here you are raising your child. Like, how can you go to school? How can you kind of go to work? It's like, wow. So that became it for me. I was like, okay, I have to figure this thing out. And then my ego was up, because I didn't want my parents to think like I failed or whatever in life. So that's when I started working.
Okay.
And then I even got my own. I stayed with my parents for a year when I had my daughter.
So they helped you in terms of your mom?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I probably I would never be here, what I'm doing today, without them. Yeah. The fact that, I don't know how, when people move there without their parents, oh, wow. And have kids.
It's insane. Yeah.
Because I can't even imagine how I could have done it, really.
So, before earlier when you were starting your story, and this is why I love taking the story slowly.
Yeah.
I can put connectors. So in Kenya would be like, just get somebody to help, a house help. That is not an option. There's no house help. To be honest, even when it just hit me like 2 years ago, that when we moved to the UK, we moved with our house help.
You did?
Yes, but now with Agnes.
Yeah.
Auntie Agnes.
Auntie Agnes.
She graduated to Auntie Agnes. But I get it now because I've got 2 kids and I'm like, I can't do it without them. So now I can imagine what you're saying, having your daughter at that age, the kind of income you're making is not sustainable because you've just said, listen, I couldn't even afford a house. Is expensive. The area that you are is probably expensive as well. It's very difficult. Explain the difficulty, if there's a word like that. Or the difference between how a Kenyan would view that.
Yeah, so a Kenyan would view it as exactly where you could get the communities there. Like literally, I think there's a lot of trust. Like, hey, maybe I could leave, and everybody wants to help. Basically, in the U.S., you're on your own. Like this becomes your problem now. And I think that's the biggest difference. And one is the cost. I think the cost is one of the biggest thing. And again, lack of that community of where you feel like you could. People will look out for you, like, oh, you could just take it to your neighbor, they'll look out for you. It's not that. It's not that there. And then there's just so much going on in the US. Sometimes you're like, wow,
I can't trust to just leave my kid anywhere.
Yeah, you can't trust to just leave your kid anywhere. There is just, there's so much that happens, from child abuse. There's so much happens, family raping your own family. There's just so much going on that. To me, I felt like, nah,
I need to be there.
I need to be there. And so, yeah, so the process was, the little money I had, at least I could take my daughter to daycare for a couple of hours. Then my mom, when my mom gets off work, they could watch her. And then 8 to 5. Because most of the jobs are 8 to 5. And you have to be in the office. So you have to find someone to take care of your child, So... and then again, it's funny because I went back to school to get my master's because I had my master's. I actually went back and did a double master's degree. And that was my biggest drive. That's what I'm saying. I was on autopilot.
Okay.
And
we're definitely going to get the master's. I love that you keep throwing these nuggets in. So it makes me know, okay, I know where the direction is going. But I'm just like, okay, when you're at work now, you've got your daughter. What's her name? Malaika. Nice name. I love it.
Yeah.
Angel.
Yeah, we get her.
So
she feels so shy every time we tell her that. Her name is Malaika.
Yep, Malaika is an angel. So, man, this is crazy. So you've got work that you're going to. You've got bills that you're paying for Malaika. You've transitioned into full adulthood.
Yes.
But luckily, or at least a slight cushion that you still have, is that got your parents' house. You get. But now you're on grind mode. You're like, I need my own house.
Yeah.
This kid's fees has to be paid the way mine were paid.
Yeah. So you are, and actually I remember when I stayed with my mom, our neighbor, she was actually Hispanic. Her name is Rosa. She was my mom's neighbor, and she had retired. So she was the one who was taking care of my daughter. And again, that's what I said. I don't even imagine how I could have done it. So she was the one who was taking care of my daughter when I was at work, and we were still at my mom's house. So again, when my mom came from work, she could take care of the daughter. And actually, it was so funny. I remember because she was Hispanic. My daughter actually never spoke English at all for the first 3 years. She literally spoke Spanish. I was like, "What are you doing to my daughter?" Because we couldn't even understand her, So
that's why you're saying a little.
Yeah, poquito. Poquito. I learned a little Spanish from her, So yeah, it was great, and it was really. I would never forget Rosa. She was so humbling because she was an older woman, and so that she had the culture background, instead of going to buy like the Gerber canned food, she will go to the market with my daughter and actually not to the market like how here they do it, but groceries and stuff, and buy her food and actually make her. So that was probably what also propelled me, is that peace of mind. What gets people stuck in the US is that the struggle is real out there.
It is,
because if you're worried so much about who's taking care of your kids, that becomes a barrier too, right? And for me, I felt like, okay, my mom is there. Here's this lady that is taking care of my daughter like it's her own. And it's probably a privilege for me that she didn't have to get to daycare with all the other kids and a mix of all these people, getting sick. because my older one had the same experience where she had to go to daycare. You know, she's sick all the time, you know, bringing all the germs home. So that was different.
And you know the way everybody says education is free in the US, daycare is not. Daycare is not. Uni is not.
Daycare is actually, it's like almost paying for college.
Yo.
Yeah.
Whoa.
When you're paying, I mean, it's exuberant.
Give me an idea.
An idea, maybe it maybe over 1,000, maybe 2,000 a month.
$2,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's over 200,000 Kenya shillings.
Yeah. And not only that, you're supplying everything.
Yo.
The diapers, the food, you know. Yeah. And that's even cheap. That's going to the ghetto daycares. You know, like I'm gonna find a little daycare in the neighborhood. You know, that's not talking about like well-established little daycare.
That's an international school in Kenya.
Yeah, it is one of the biggest costs. You know, because again, it's just a kid. You know, like how much could it cost to take care of this little baby? You know, and they count everything. Because your child is not potty trained, I'm like, okay, she's 1. How is she gonna be potty trained? You know, when your kid is born, right? That's where the cost comes in. Like the fact that they have to feed your child, you pay extra for that. The fact that they have to change diapers. That's extra, right? That's where the costs come in. Because the older your kids get, the more independent, the less money it is for you. Because they don't have to change diapers or
feed the baby.
You know. But if they gotta do your homework with your kids after school, that's extra. So you know.
Thank God for Rosa.
Yeah, Rosa. I was like, oh my God. She said, she was a lifesaver.
Okay. Probably the biggest transition that I've ever had, forget even this school that we've been talking about, the birth of Malaika was one of the biggest transitions ever.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Okay, so let's go back then to this place that you're working, the one which is connecting you back to the motherland.
Oh, the motherland. Yes.
So how is that? Like, again, meeting a whole new culture?
Yeah, it was meeting a whole, now you get into a whole different culture, because now you get into corporate world.